Today, we're going on a coastal road trip to see how a single fascinating crustacean completely shaped American history. We are exploring the culinary journey of the blue crab, scientifically known as Calinectes sapidus, which translates to the savory, beautiful swimmer. It's an awesome name, right? We're going to trace how this one estuarine creature anchored distinct regional foodways across the United States for over 3 centuries.
But before we hit the road, I want to ask you a quick question to test your culinary knowledge. When you think of crab being eaten in the United States today, what do you think is the most universally consumed dish? Seriously, think about restaurant menus from coast to coast. Got a guess?
Well, you might be surprised to hear that the most ubiquitous crab dish isn't authentic to the coast at all. It's actually crab rangoon. It's a mid-20th century tiki fusion invention from California. And honestly, the most surprising part? In current commercial practice, it's rarely made with real blue crab meat. It usually relies on imitation crab instead. So to find the true, authentic blue crab traditions, we need to look strictly to the historic coastlines.
So here's our itinerary for the trip. We'll be hitting 1. Anatomy of a delicacy, 2. The Chesapeake Bay, 3. The Carolina Lowcountry, 4. Louisiana and the Gulf, and finally, 5. Tampa's working-class heritage.
Starting with Section 1, Anatomy of a Delicacy. Let's look at how biology dictates the dish.
It's really fascinating how the physical structure of the crab translates directly into distinct culinary grades. Take jumbo lump, for example. These are the 2 large, unbroken muscles that operate the crab's rear swimming paddles. This meat is incredibly delicate, highly prized, and requires absolute minimal handling. It is literally perfect for broiled crab cakes. Now compare that to the claw meat. That dark, flavorful, dense meat comes from the pinching claws. Because it's so sturdy, it can actually withstand the hearty simmering of a vegetable soup or a thick gumbo without just disintegrating. In the kitchen, anatomy is quite literally destiny.
Moving on to Section 2, the Chesapeake Bay, the heartland. This is the historic epicenter of blue crab culture.
Now, there are 2 completely different regional philosophies when it comes to cooking whole crabs. Up in the Chesapeake Bay, it's all about vapor steaming. The live crabs are suspended over a bubbling mix of vinegar and beer, heavily coated in dry spices, usually Old Bay. This method keeps the meat from getting waterlogged and concentrates that iconic, salty flavor directly on the shell. But head down to the Gulf Coast, and the philosophy flips completely to liquid submersion boiling. Down there, crabs are fully submerged in heavily spiced water and left to soak. This drives fiery cayenne and citrus flavor deep into the muscle tissue itself. And speaking of the Chesapeake, you know that persistent myth that the crab cake was invented at the 1930s New York World's Fair? Yeah, historical records completely debunk that. We see references in the Harrisburg Telegraph pushing the dish back to at least 1873, and published recipes appear firmly in the 1890s. The truth is, the crab cake is deeply rooted in a braided lineage of English minced meat cakes, African fritter techniques, and French frying methods.
Actually, we absolutely cannot talk about Baltimore's culinary history without giving massive credit to the vital foundation built by Black food cart businesses. Back in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Black caterers and crabmen, street vendors, were essential to popularizing both deviled crab and crab cakes. They sold them from baskets directly on Baltimore's streets, embedding these dishes forever into the city's identity.
Heading south, we hit Section 3. The Carolinas, specifically the Lowcountry. This is all about elegance and heritage.
If you've ever been to Charleston, you know she crab soup is an absolute cornerstone of their gastronomy. It is a rich, bisque-style soup built on cream and crab stock. But the true game changer, it is enriched with the orange roe of female crabs, hence the name she crab. That roe gives the soup a stunning, distinctive color and an incredibly deep, savory flavor you just can't get anywhere else.
The history of this soup is just fascinating. Its deepest roots lie in the Scottish crab and cream soup called Parton Brie, which early immigrants brought over. But the magic happened in the early 1900s when an African-American chef named William Deas elevated the dish. Historians love to debate the exact details of this legendary dinner party thrown for President William Howard Taft. But regardless, Deas undeniably perfected and popularized the addition of that orange crab roe. By the 1930s, his version had spread all across Charleston, becoming a permanent culinary fixture. But it doesn't stop at soup. We also see this deep cultural braiding in dishes like low-country crab rice, which is a direct reflection of Gula heritage. It combines West African rice cultivation and classical one-pot simmering techniques, where the rice just soaks up the seafood stock directly.
with the abundant local blue crab of the Carolina Sea Islands. It's literally living history, beautifully preserved in a single pot. Next stop, Section 4, Louisiana and the Gulf, the ultimate culinary melting pot.
When you think of Gulf regional cooking, seafood gumbo is probably the first thing that comes to mind, right? It's arguably one of the most recognized dishes in America, and fresh blue crab is absolutely essential to its magic. Crabs are often halved and simmered right in their shells, which releases this rich gelatin and complex mineral flavor directly into the broth.
Gumbo is literally a melting pot in a bowl. Look at how it braids everything together. West African okra, Native American Choctaw fillet powder, French dark roux techniques, the Spanish holy trinity of onions, celery, and bell peppers, and then it rounds it all out with native Gulf Coast blue crab. It is an extraordinary testament to how incredibly diverse cultures came together to create a unified culinary masterpiece.
Which brings us to Section 5, Tampa's working-class heritage, a highly distinct Floridian tradition.
If you are looking for an absolute flavor bomb, look no further than Tampa's deviled crab, or the croquette de jaiba. Now, this is completely different from the deviled crab you'd find up on the Atlantic coast. It's a unique, deep-fried croquette heavily fusing Spanish and Cuban flavors using a spicy sofrito and a super crispy Cuban breadcrumb coating.
And just like the po' boy in New Orleans, this brilliant dish illustrates how a labor strike birthed a permanent piece of a city's identity. During a major 1920 cigar worker strike in the immigrant community of Ybor City, families were desperate for cheap, abundant food. So they turned to the blue crabs in Tampa Bay, mixing the meat with stale, day-old Cuban bread. Street vendors on bicycles popularized it, and by 1929 it was a massive restaurant staple. It's this perfect fusion of Spanish croquette tradition and Cuban ingredients.
Finally, Section 6, the big picture. One crab, countless traditions.
When you zoom out and look at all 18 distinct signature dishes we've mapped across the United States, it drives home the crucial point of our explainer today. We're looking at everything from the hot communal vapor steaming of the Chesapeake Bay to the cold acid marinades of Mobile, Alabama's West Indies salad, all the way to the border specialty ceviches of the Texas coast. The blue crab isn't just an ingredient, guys. It is the ultimate blank canvas for American regional history.
Ultimately, while we might forever debate exactly who cooked what first or whether a dish was truly served to a specific president, the undeniable truth remains. This one beautiful, savory swimmer connects our coastal cultures, our immigrant histories, and our working-class struggles like almost nothing else in the country.
I'll leave you with this to ponder. From purest Maryland crab cakes to wild Gulf Coast submersion boils, which of these regional traditions has earned the right to call itself the ultimate blue crab dish? Let that debate sit with you next time you see crab on a menu.